If you're like me, you probably don't think about lightning very much. However, if you live in a place that has thunderstorms, then this phenomenon of nature can be quite dramatic and even life-threatening. So it makes sense to understand this natural phenomenon a little bit better. Let's start off with the big question. How fast is lightning? The answer depends on what you mean by how fast. A single flash of light travels at the speed of light, which is approximately 300,000 kilometers, or 186,000 miles per second. But the entire process of lightning formation is a lot more complicated than a single flash. The initial step of charge separation can occur over several hours, and the subsequent discharge can involve multiple return strokes and occur over many minutes. Now let's get into what lightning actually is. Lightning is an electrical discharge resulting in the emission of light. It's caused by a sudden imbalance between opposite charges within, or between clouds, or between a cloud and the ground. This can happen because of various atmospheric conditions, including variations in temperature, humidity, and air pressure. It's also been observed near waterfalls, and in places where there are lots of tall trees. When these conditions cause opposite charges to separate, one or both of them can become strong enough to overcome the insulating properties of the surrounding medium. When the electric field strength exceeds the dielectric strength of air, the normally insulating air molecules become ionized, and a pathway for current flow known as a leader is formed. The leader propagates towards the region of opposite charge, connecting with it, and forming a channel of plasma. The subsequent discharge along this channel produces the light we associate with lightning. The main body of a lightning bolt is called the visible return stroke. It occurs when the channel created by the leader is suddenly energized by a surge of electrical current. As the electrical discharge rushes back up the channel, it causes the air molecules around it to rapidly heat up and expand. This sudden expansion generates a shock wave that we hear as thunder. Visible light from the return stroke is emitted. Due to the high temperature of the ionized gas and the subsequent recombination of the electrons and positive ions, it might seem like a simple spark, but the energy released in a single lightning flash can be enormous, reaching millions of joules in smaller bolts and hundreds of millions of joules in larger ones. This immense energy can reach temperatures of 30,000 kelvins, 29,700 degrees Celsius, or 53,000 Fahrenheit. At such high temperatures, the air molecules lose their electrons, creating a glowing plasma. Lightning discharges can take many forms depending on factors such as the location of the charges, the atmospheric conditions, and the path of the discharge. Intracloud or cloud-to-cloud lightning is the most common type, occurring within a single cloud or between adjacent clouds. Intracloud lightning can result in photoflashes without audible thunder if the discharge occurs entirely within a cloud, or if the thunder is masked by other noises. Cloud-to-ground lightning originates in a cloud and ends on the ground. These are the most dangerous type of lightning because they pose a direct threat to people and objects on the ground. There are different types of cloud-to-ground lightning, such as positive and negative, which are categorized based on the sign of the charge on the ground at the point of contact. Positive lightning is less common, but tends to be more severe due to the higher overvoltage involved. So what exactly causes lightning? As I mentioned earlier, lightning happens when there's a big separation of charge. There are a couple of ways that this can happen. In the most common type of thunderstorm, which is called the summer thunderstorm, warm water evaporates from the surface and rises as saturated air. As it rises, it cools and condenses, forming clouds, and also causing the opposite charges to separate. Another way this can happen is through collisions between cloud particles and also between the cloud and the ground. In a thunderstorm, the separation of charges creates a strong electric field that can lead to the formation of a stepped leader, which is a branching pattern often seen in intracloud and cloud-to-ground lightning. The stepped leader emerges from the negatively charged base of the cloud and moves toward the positively charged ground in a series of steps. Each step is preceded by a brief brightening of the channel, which is actually not visible light, but an ultraviolet emission that we can see as a glow. These steps gradually connect with the positive charges on the ground, forming a conductive path for the return stroke. When the stepped leader reaches the ground, it can ionize the air molecules, creating a channel for the return stroke to follow. The return stroke is the visible bright flash that we associate with lightning. It occurs when a surge of current flows back up the channel created by the stepped leader. The rapid flow of current heats the air molecules around the channel to extreme temperatures, causing them to expand and emit light and sound. The light is emitted due to the high temperature of the ionized gas and the subsequent recombination of the electrons and positive ions. The sound waves generated by the expanding air molecules produce the characteristic clap of thunder. As I mentioned earlier, cloud-to-ground lightning is the most dangerous type of lightning because it poses a direct threat to people and objects on the ground. If lightning strikes a person directly, it can cause cardiac arrest, burns, and other serious injuries. Structures such as buildings and towers can be damaged or destroyed by lightning strikes. So what should you do if you find yourself in a lightning storm? The best approach is to seek shelter indoors or in a hard-topped vehicle with the windows rolled up. If you're caught outdoors with nowhere to hide, it's important to avoid open fields, tall trees, water, and metal objects. Instead, crouch down with your feet together and your head close to the ground. This minimizes your contact with the ground and reduces the risk of injury from ground current. Also avoid lying flat on the ground, as this increases the surface area across which current can flow through your body. You also shouldn't take a shower or wash your hands, as water conducts electricity. Avoid using corded phones, as the electrical signal can pass through the wires and deliver a shock. It's also not a good idea to be the tallest thing around. So if you're outside and your hair is wet, put on a hat. Similarly, if you're outside and your clothing gets wet, change into dry clothing as soon as possible. And finally, rubber-soled shoes can provide some protection against ground current if you're standing on dry ground. However, they offer no protection from direct strikes. And that's everything you need to know about lightning. It's an amazing natural phenomenon that can be both beautiful and deadly. Hopefully now you understand a little bit better how it happens and what to do to stay safe if you ever find yourself in a lightning storm. Thanks for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. And if you have a topic that you want me to cover in a future episode, just leave a comment and I'll see you next time.